Okay, so here's how it went down. I just finished teaching for the evening, was saying goodbye to my last student, and I thought to myself, I might just get one quick YouTube video in before I do some more work. So I sit down, open up YouTube, and oh snap. Propellerhead had just announced Reason 11. Oh, I've been waiting for this for a while, and I gotta say, I was not expecting the announcement that we got from Propellerhead. So this video, we're talking about what's new in Reason 11, what we can expect. I've applied for access to the beta, but I haven't got that yet. But I'm very excited to go over some of the new stuff that Propellerhead has announced today. So this video is going to be broken into 4 parts. First of all, we're going to be talking about the biggest news, which is probably Reason as a plugin, a VST. Then we're going to talk about what that means for Reason as a standalone application. We're going to talk about why Propellerhead are changing their name to Reason Studios, and hopefully what that means for the continued development of their products and how that might affect us making music with them. And finally, I want to talk about how I think I'm going to end up using Reason going forward now that they've made these announcements. So first off, Reason as a plugin, my gosh, I wasn't expecting that. I was actually planning on making a video today about all of the instruments and effects that I would be missing from Reason if I switched to Ableton full-time, which is something I'd been thinking of doing. But there are a ton of effects and instruments in Reason that I really liked and thought were fantastic. So I was not keen to switch full-time to Ableton and lose those effects and those instruments that I had been using in Reason, and rewiring it just too much work. It doesn't work. But now Reason Studios, I was going to say Propellerhead, but we should probably start saying Reason Studios, have released Reason 11 as a VST. Currently it's going to be in the VST3 format, and they're going to be releasing an audio units version. But I'm excited. This is going to be dope. I now can use all of the players and effects and instruments that I love from Reason in Ableton, as well as all the ones from Ableton. I think this is probably the most game-changing thing that no one was expecting. I remember talking about it with some people, whether or not Propellerhead Reason Studios would make Reason into a plugin, and nobody thought that they'd actually do it. So this is sick. What does this mean for Reason as a standalone application? Reason is still going to support VST2 plugins, which means that people who don't have another DAW but have been using plugins will still be able to do so in Reason. But one of the biggest issues that I had using VST plugins in Reason was that you didn't have VST3 support, and also the one plugin, I mainly just had this issue with one plugin, the Waves EQ that I like to use, the F6, with the sidechain input thing. It didn't work. I couldn't get it to work properly in Reason. They have made some user interface adjustments, which we will talk about. Some of these are ones that we've requested, and to be honest, it's about time. Like, I don't think we can really give Reason Studios too much praise for making these changes, because they needed to happen. They were overdue. But they've been added, so hopefully they were integrated well, and hopefully it really improves the user experience. From the product announcement page though, it looks like they are still missing some features that I know were heavily requested and were suggested by a bunch of people I was talking to, like in the comments of videos and in other places online. Some people had some awesome suggestions for features that should have been added to Reason, and not all of these have been announced. They've also added 5 new devices. 3 of them I'm super excited about. We get the master bus compressor, the channel dynamics, and the channel EQ as plugins that we can now use in the Reason rack in any order, I guess, in between different instruments or whatever. And that also means if you are doing something in Ableton, for example, you'll be able to basically set up the Reason channel strip in Ableton for mixing, which is something that I had really wanted to do, but didn't think there was a way that I could. So I'm super excited about what that essentially means for using those effects in other DAWs. They've also added the quartet chorus ensemble and the sweeper modulation effect. The sound demos they've got on the site sound pretty cool. I don't really have much of an opinion about those. I am excited to see what you can do with the sweeper modulation effect, specifically with the filter in terms of the curve that you can draw in. If that's something that works its way into my workflow, cool. I'm just not, that wasn't something I was really caring about, but yay. They've also added another synth announcing Scenic Hybrid Instrument. And the description on the site says, Scenic Hybrid Instrument is a cinematic dream machine of atmospheric sounds and powerful performance controls. I don't really know what that means. That'll be interesting to see what that sounds like. Another important thing for us to note about Reason 11 is that Rewire has been discontinued. I only briefly explored Rewire, and to be honest, I didn't really think it was that useful. I found it more of a hassle than anything else when I set stuff up using Rewire in Ableton, so that doesn't really affect me. The only reason I think people would want to use Rewire is so they can get the sounds and effects and stuff from Reason in their chosen DAW, but the new Reason VST is going to change that completely, and it's going to be a far better format, I think, for using Reason in another DAW. Alright, let's talk about the Reason Suite, because this is something that I want to call Reason Studios out on. Basically, Reason 11 now comes in 3 flavors. Reason Intro, $99, they had that before. Reason, which is the version everybody currently has, and Reason Suite, which is the new one they've added. If you want it all, a brand new Reason Suite is a formidable collection of instruments, effects, and other music making tools, 16 extra rack extension plugins from Reason Studios, and 1 unbelievable package at an unbeatable price. Great. Here's what's included. You've got some awesome plugins here, and I definitely want to get this, but I already own a bunch of these. I already own Reason Electric Bass, Reason Drums, Radical Keys, both of those drum machines, the rotary speaker, the dual pitch shifter, the drum sequencer, and a lot of us already do. We already own these. So I emailed Propellerhead and said, I want to upgrade to Reason Suite, but I feel slightly cheated as I've already purchased a bunch of the instruments that are included at full price previously. Will there be an allowance for this? The reply I got from Propellerhead said, we don't have any offers in place for users that have previously owned rack extensions included in the Reason 11 suite. It's the same concept as the rigs and bundles that we sell. The price point is low on the grounds that these collections are sold as seen. Due to this low price, Reason 11 Suite remains a strong offer should you already own a proportion of the included items, unless you already own 13 of the 16 included rack extensions, for which we wouldn't recommend the purchase of 11 Suite, but hold out for a more relevant offer. Like, if you already own 1 or 2, I get it, they've been heavily discounted, it's like the Reason rigs and bundles, it's a good deal. But what kind of really got to me a little bit is when they announced processed pianos just recently, they had an offer for people that had already purchased the Reason Pianos refill, where you could buy the processed pianos rack extension for like a discount. And I thought about that, I was like, sweet, I should buy this, I should get this, but I didn't because I was trying to decide whether I wanted to switch to Ableton completely or whether I wanted to stick with Reason. And I figured if I switched to Ableton completely, there wouldn't be any point in me owning this processed pianos rack extension, especially because I already had the refill that had a lot of the sounds. And so I didn't buy it. But let's just say I had purchased the processed pianos rack extension, and then literally less than a month later, you get the announcement that Reason 11 is coming out, and the Process Piano's rack extension is included as part of the Reason Suite bundle. To me that just seems like a bit of a money grab. Like, come on Reason Studios. I think Reason 11 looks awesome, and I think Reason Suite looks awesome, but in less than a month you're basically trying to get people who are seriously invested in Reason to purchase this new instrument that you've got and then giving it to them for free as part of the upgrade anyway? Like, in less than a month. I mean, I could understand if this was a 6-month difference or something, but seriously, why not just wait until Reason 11 was introduced before you released the Process Piano's rack extension? Like, that looks bad. That looks bad. That looks like you're just trying to get people to give you more money for something that you were planning on giving them anyway. I'm not impressed by that. So Matthias from PROPELLERHEAD posted in the Reason Talk forum with a few updates about some stuff that's not mentioned on the What's New page. Workflow and technical improvements. Stuff that's mentioned on the Absolute Snap, which is a new setting which always snaps what you're moving to the grid. And there's an octave shortcut where you can Command Shift up or down to move MIDI notes up or down an octave. Again, that was already in Ableton. Here's the thing though, right? Somebody posted on the Reason Talk forum and said, that's one way to avoid improvements on the sequencer and audio editing capabilities, crossfades and note mutes. Come on. You've given up on the DAW side of things, haven't you? Nice move in regards to extending your customer base, terrible announcement for those who use Reason and Reason alone. Matthias replied to that and said, not at all workflow features are super highly requested and there are more of them than most full version upgrades we've ever done. Curved automation, crossfades, muting notes, new pen tool, increased vertical zoom, visual feedback when playing the piano roll and so on. This is definitely a commitment to Reason as a whole. Try them out, they're super useful. Here's the thing though, you don't get props for doing something that should have been done ages ago. All of these features, all of them, have already been in other DAWs for ages. They were highly requested because everyone realized that Reason was significantly lacking in terms of not having these. And like, I was the same. I had lived in the Reason environment strictly for a long time and I got used to not having them, and then when I went to mess around in Ableton I was like, oh, I've been missing out. Yeah, you don't get praised for doing something that is expected of you. So while I'm super pumped that all of these adjustments are now in Reason and that's awesome, Reason Studios doesn't get props for that. That's cool, that's where it should be. What are you gonna do now? And like, looking in Reason Talk, there's some genuine concern by people that think that PROPELLERHEAD or Reason Studios have kind of let the DAW side of things slide, and I understand that. I feel the same way, to be honest. So I want to quickly go through some of the things that I had in my Reason 11 wishlist video and talk about whether or not they've been announced. So I had collapsible groups for bus channels, that's not a thing. New notation tools, also not really a thing. They've got the brush tool like in Ableton, but whatever. Automation curves, they added that, cool. Global minimize for automation channels, not a thing. Individual track resizing, they added that. Track freezing, not a thing, not a thing. Sheet music editor, video support, not a thing. Automatic audio crossfading options, they added that, awesome. Better note options, they added that. More color options, not a thing. VST, better integration support for VST3. Well, I mean, they kind of did the VST thing with the rack. That's dope. I'm super pumped for that, don't get me wrong. Doesn't look like they've done anything here. So here's the thing, like if we look at my list here, they haven't done much, really. Let's just forget about the fact that Reason is a VST now, that we can use it as a rack. In terms of what they've done in Reason itself, in terms of the actual application, this is like nothing. And the stuff that they have done is just catching up, kinda. Like, they're playing catch up a little bit, but it's still it's still disappointing in terms of what they're doing for the app from a standalone perspective. You know, some comments people have left on other YouTube videos that I've made. Sir Robert Robinson said that there's still no export to MP3 or AACC. Yeah, that's dumb. That's one of the other reasons why I think I'm going to continue to use Ableton as my main DAW, just because when you're actually working on a project, there's just far more options there. Like Reason is, I can make some cool beats, I can make a little bit of ideas with which I can take to a more serious DAW later, but the export functionality is not there. Christian says that he's disappointed they added crossfades, multi-drawing and curved automation. He said it's time for the 15-year-old plugin designs to be updated. I agree. That brings us to Propellerhead officially changing their name to Reason Studios. This is cool. I'm really interested to see what they're gonna do now. They're shifting away from being this standalone product that they had, and now they're offering the Reason Rack as a VST. They've still got the standalone application, but yeah, we've also got to remember they have an app in the App Store, which up until this point I haven't really messed around with because I didn't know what I was doing with Reason or Ableton and stuff, and I was kind of a little annoyed that they were making me pay extra money to unlock the app when I already had the full version of Reason. You know, again, I'm not super impressed by their business model at the moment, but I think rebranding as Reason Studios is going to allow them to hopefully do some really cool new stuff in terms of music making. I want to see what happens when we combine functionality of the app with the Reason Rack and the standalone application. Like, how can Reason Studios continue to push the envelope when it comes to effects and sounds and stuff? Are we gonna see the Reason Compact plugin on iOS get a bunch of more functionality? Is that going to become more of a standalone music application than it already is? One other question I had is, will they shift their focus to instruments and sounds instead of usability features? What I mean by that is they've made some great changes in the standalone plugin, but they're still playing catch up. Like, other DAWs had these features for ages. So does that mean they're going to shift their focus more so to the sounds and the instruments, and the standalone plugin Reason will just be like kind of a central hub, but the focus is on the external stuff? And because the standalone plugin only has VST2 support, is it really competing as a DAW? To me, it just feels like that standalone plugin is great, you can do some stuff in it, and I'm still really keen to see what role it's going to have for me in my music making process. But I feel like now that they've released Reason 11, and especially as they have the VST, it's becoming more and more appealing or even sensible for producers to switch to another DAW to be the main kind of hub where they make their music. Alright, so how am I going to use Reason going forward? After this announcement of Reason 11 and having not yet played with the beta version yet, this is how I think I'm going to use it, based on kind of my impressions of where I think the software is going. I'm pumped about the VST. I think that's awesome. And so from this point, I think Ableton is going to become my main DAW in terms of music production. That's where I want to base everything. I am planning on heavily using the Reason Rack inside Ableton though. While I'm pumped that Propellerhead have added a lot of these usability features we were requesting, I think they're still lacking severely in terms of the functionality that Reason 11 offers as a standalone application. And so I don't think it's really a viable option for serious producers who are looking for a lot of functionality out of the DAW in terms of like features for usability. I think it's severely lacking in that department. However, like I said when I made a video comparing Ableton and Reason from the recording perspective, I still really think Reason is better for tracking and especially editing, kind of like pitch correction and stuff with vocals. It doesn't look like they've added counting, which sucks. That's probably the thing that I'm most disappointed about with this Reason to Live In announcement, is that there's no pre-count. Sorry, there's no punch-in with the recording feature, because Ableton's still not killing it in terms of their recording features. At the moment, neither of those softwares for me are perfect. I still have this Nectar controller, obviously, and I still have been really enjoying making beats and coming up with ideas in Reason using this controller. So at the moment for me, I think Reason is gonna remain kind of an environment where I can mess around with ideas and come up with stuff, but I don't envision myself doing any serious work in Reason in terms of like mixing or editing audio or any of that kind of stuff. As I've said before, I'm a massive fan of Reason. I think it's a great product, and it's because I care so much about the software that I want to call them out on stuff and give my thoughts and my feedback, because I really, really like the product. I am so excited by the fact that the rack is now available as a VST. That's awesome. But the more I kind of look into the features that they've added to Reason as a standalone application, the more I think that it's disappointing. Sure, they've added a whole bunch of stuff that I really wanted, but the stuff that they've added still is only playing catch up to what other DAWs already had. Adding resizing of tracks, better MIDI editing functionality, all of this stuff is cool, don't get me wrong, it's awesome that it's there now, but like I said before, you don't really get props for doing something that you should have done anyway. That's like rocking up to work wearing clothes and someone says, oh my gosh, you put your clothes on today, have a bonus, get a pay rise. That's just dumb. Of course you should be wearing clothes to work. That's how I kind of feel about this update in terms of what they've added in terms of functionality to the new Reason. When I compare it to what I had on my wish list and what a whole lot of other people have said they wanted, like going through this process of making the Reason 11 wishlist video and seeing what other people commented, there were some awesome feature suggestions that people in the community had posted, and what Reason Studios have added really is kind of disappointing. But yeah, that's the video today, guys. I'm stoked that Reason 11 has finally been announced. I can't wait to check out the beta. Can't wait to use it as a plugin, a VST plugin inside Ableton. If you like this video, subscribe, give it a like, and let me know in the comments what you think of the Reason 11 announcement. Are you going to upgrade to the Reason Suite? Are you going to use Reason 11? Are you more excited about Reason 11 as a VST plugin or Reason 11 as the standalone application? And what do you think about the improvements that Reason Studios has made to Reason 11? Do you think they're good? Do you think they're disappointing? Let me know in the comments, because I'm very, very interested to see what other people think about this. So yeah, I'm going to play around with the beta and definitely make some more videos about Reason 11 as soon as I can get my hands on it. Until then, I'll catch you guys later.